Hello everyone. Welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. 90-Day Fiancé. Happily ever after likely just revealed why Brandon and Julia publicly spoiled pregnancy news in the middle of the season. Warning. The following contains spoilers for the 90-Day Fiancé. Happily ever after? Episode shaken, not stirred. Stream it with a Max subscription and read at your own risk. 90-Day Fiancé stars typically keep spoilers about their ongoing storylines off social media if they can help it, but occasionally we get surprised by sudden reveals going public. Such was the case recently when Brandon and Julia Gibbs announced they're having a child, all while happily ever after. Season 9 is invested in a storyline revolving around whether she can actually get pregnant. I felt it was a strange decision initially, especially considering Julia's issues with fertility have been a part of their story since The Last Resort Season 2. After watching the latest episode, though, I think I know why they decided to publicly announce the pregnancy ahead of this latest episode. On the heels of Brandon and Julia having another fight regarding his parents, they went to a doctor's appointment to get a second opinion on whether Julia had fertility issues. They learned that a surgery to remove scar tissue could significantly increase her chances of a successful pregnancy, which thrilled Brandon. Julia, on the other hand, had never been under anesthesia before and wasn't sure she wanted to have the procedure. 90-Day Fiancé fans are always talking on social media, and while I'm only speculating here, I can imagine Julia and Brandon didn't want to hear their thoughts on this ongoing pregnancy storyline when it's all behind them. Posting a picture of them happy and her with child prevents comments about Julia's fear of surgery, or criticism about Brandon pushing her into getting the procedure done. I can imagine the non-stop criticism from fans can be exhausting. Whether fans are griping about someone's mother-in-law or sharing their thoughts on someone's new lover, I'm sure the people involved are just wishing they could catch a break. Unfortunately, they are reality television stars, so asking for privacy is basically asking for a check to be withheld. I would wager the only way to know peace in that world is to give the audience something else to talk about, which is exactly what Brandon and Julia did with the pregnancy announcement. Now we can spend less time obsessing over whether they'll break up after getting married, and more time on how they'll be as new parents. 90-Day Fiancé. Happily ever after likely just revealed why Brandon and Julia publicly spoiled pregnancy news in the middle of the season. The world of 90-Day Fiancé is rarely quiet, but even longtime fans were caught off guard when Brandon Gibbs and Julia Tripkina seemingly jumped the gun and let slip some major news, pregnancy news no less, before Happily Ever After had the chance to air its latest episodes. For a couple known for their fiery chemistry, light-hearted bickering, and constant tug-of-war between farm chores and city dreams, the sudden reveal had everyone wondering, why would they risk breaking the fourth wall in such a dramatic way? Now, as the newest season of Happily Ever After unfolds, the answer may finally be taking shape. A couple known for surprises, Brandon and Julia's love story has been anything but conventional. From Julia's fish-out-of-water experience adjusting to farm life under the watchful eyes of Brandon's parents, Betty and Ron, to their eventual relocation into a more independent lifestyle, every stage of their relationship has been marked by equal doses of drama and devotion. But pregnancy? That's a storyline fans have been speculating about for years. Julia herself has never shied away from saying she wanted children, though always on her timeline. Brandon, the quiet and more cautious half of the pair, often pumped the brakes on such conversations, especially with the weight of family obligations and financial stress. So, when whispers of pregnancy news leaked straight from the couple's own public posts, fans were floored. TLC usually keeps its stars on a tight leash when it comes to spoilers. Could Brandon and Julia really have risked their contract just to get the news out there? The social media slip. The buzz started innocently enough. A cryptic Instagram post from Julia showing off what looked suspiciously like a baby bump, followed by Brandon dropping emojis that all but confirmed it. The internet detectives of the 90-Day Fiancé fandom wasted no time piecing it together. Within hours, pregnancy rumors were trending across fan groups and Reddit threads. But the timing didn't add up. On Happily Ever After, the couple was still knee-deep in disagreements about where to live, whether to return to the farm, and how to handle Julia's ongoing visa stress. A baby wasn't even on the horizon in the episodes airing at the time. That's when theories started swirling. Maybe the spoiler wasn't an accident at all. Why the spoiler may have been strategic. As this season inches forward, it's becoming clearer that Brandon and Julia's storyline is one of the season's slow burns. While castmates like Angela Deem and Michael Ilisami draw attention with loud arguments and public meltdowns, Brandon and Julia's plot risks fading into the background. And let's be honest, in the crowded 90-day universe, screen time is survival. Couples who don't captivate viewers often find themselves quietly phased out of future spin-offs. Brandon and Julia may have realized that if they didn't make waves, they could easily be forgotten. By dropping a major life update in the middle of the season, they essentially forced producers, fans, and even the show's narrative to pivot toward them. Suddenly, every little disagreement about housing, jobs, and family obligations took on a new weight. If a baby is in the mix, those conversations are no longer petty squabbles. They're about building a stable future. How TLC handles accidental spoilers. Here's the kicker. TLC has dealt with cast spoilers before. Stars like Devin Clegg, Loren, and Alexei Brovarnik and Yara Zia have all faced scrutiny for sharing more than they were supposed to. In most cases, TLC turns the spoiler into a narrative tool. What starts as a leak becomes a cliffhanger. In Brandon and Julia's case, Happily Ever After seems to be steering directly toward the pregnancy bombshell as the climax of their storyline. That makes their spoiler less of a contract violation and more of a carefully staged tease. Instead of ruining the surprise, it ensured fans would tune in to see how it happened. The role of Brandon's parents. Another reason this spoiler may have been allowed lies in the ever-looming shadow of Betty and Ron. The Gibbs parents have long been central to Brandon and Julia's journey. Betty, in particular, has been vocal about wanting grandchildren, sometimes pushing Julia into uncomfortable territory with her baby fever. By leaking pregnancy news early, Brandon and Julia might have flipped the script. Instead of fans rolling their eyes at Betty's overbearing ways, viewers are now asking, how will Betty react when it's real? Will she overstep, or will she finally back off and let Julia parent her own way? It's reality TV gold, and Brandon and Julia probably knew it. Fans divided over the news. Of course, not everyone is thrilled. Some fans felt cheated out of the suspense. Why even watch the season if they're just going to tell us everything on Instagram? One Reddit user complained. Others applauded the move, arguing that in a franchise often filled with manufactured drama, Brandon and Julia's decision to take control of their own narrative was refreshing. The division reflects exactly why TLC might secretly approve of the spoiler. Whether you're annoyed, excited, or skeptical, you're still talking about Brandon and Julia, and that's what keeps viewers engaged. The bigger picture, controlling their story. At its heart, Brandon and Julia's spoiler isn't just about a pregnancy. It's about control. For years, Julia has spoken out about how the show edits her, sometimes painting her as nagging or dramatic while softening Brandon's passive tendencies. By revealing the biggest update of their lives on their own terms, they snatched back some of that power. And maybe that's the real reason. Pregnancy isn't just a plotline for them. It's their future. Why should TLC or any production company get the first say in how it's shared with the world? What happens next? If the show continues down this path, fans can expect the pregnancy to become the defining thread of Brandon and Julia's Happily Ever After arc. Their living situation will suddenly matter more. Their financial planning will come into sharper focus, and, most dramatically, Betty's involvement will skyrocket. But more importantly, this spoiler-turned storyline raises a question for the entire franchise. Are 90-Day Fiancé couples starting to realize they can outsmart the system? In the age of social media, where stars have direct access to fans, it's getting harder for TLC to keep tight control over narratives. Brandon and Julia may have just pulled off the boldest example yet.